Hello everybody, thank you for coming to today's final NEG talk. We're going to be hearing from Nitin Aargarwal, CEO of Property Deals Insight, who's going to be talking to us about how to get more instructions with less effort. So I'd like to hand over to Nitin. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. As I said, basically today's topic is something which is everybody wants something. So we're going to be talking about how to get more instructions with less effort, faster, further and flexible solutions. I'm Nitin Aargarwal, CEO of Property Deals Insight. We offer the ability to analyze any property in seconds. We also provide revolutionary reports. And I come from a background, from a tech background where I've been leading solutions and strategy for some of the largest tier 1 organizations across the globe. Very recently, I was involved in shaping up or leading the strategy for what would be the future of entire UK's payment industry. So I found myself working with all the regulators, major banks, fintechs, anybody and everybody who dealt with payments, and that's pretty much everyone. So I think the relevance for that topic is actually because, again, within payments industry, it was quite a change what we were trying to introduce. It's always hard to bring the whole industry together to try and actually achieve something or a common outcome. Which is kind of just one of my programs which I recently did. I have been involved into the property investment sector for over a decade now. So been a property investor, landlord, been involved in various purchases and sales. One thing that did stand out for me, and coming from a tech corporate background, I was quite amazed at how far behind the property market in the UK is compared to some of the other sectors. And given how big the UK property market is, it was astonishing actually why we are so far behind comparatively to even mainland Europe, US and some other parts of the country, sort of the continent. So we came up with the solution, Property Deals Insight, which was formed to bridge a key gap in the UK property market, which was faced by agents, home buyers, sellers, and other property professionals. Our platform uses the latest technology to provide instant access to in-depth data and insights about the entirety of UK market. It's what we do is we have a number of offerings. You can get this data in the form of an online portal, reports, widgets, which can be plugged and played into your own solutions, and also property APIs. So it depends on what kind of business you run or where in the how well placed you are in terms of your journey. We have a solution for everybody, whether you want a simple solution or a fairly technical solution. There are a number of tools which we have in our platform, and without going into too much detail, just gives a bit of insight on this graphic. We help you provide insights into the entirety of UK markets. How do we do that? We connect to a number of trusted data sources, that being combination of the likes of Land Registry, Ministry of Housing, house price indices, Ofsted, Ofcom, and even the private sector like the portals, Zoopla, Rightmove, and so on. So there's quite an extensive list which we integrate with to try and put it all together. In a nutshell, we do all the hard work, so you don't have to. So we try and put all this information together, have our own proprietary algorithms and a lot of tech in the background, which basically makes decision making simpler for everybody. There are a few. As I said, there are quite a few different tool sets which we offer. But given the audience over here is mainly estate agents focused, so I'll try and keep the conversation around that topic. However, our platform is quite extensively used by property investors, landlords, and sources. Other property professionals, even lenders, are actually beginning to use the platform. So coming back to the key points or the pain points which most of our clients find themselves asking is, how do you get more leads from your website? Wherever you are, however popular your website is, you still want more leads. You do want to make sure you can actually be more efficient. How do you provide better quality data to your clients? What are the bottlenecks? How do you reduce bottlenecks caused due to the senior staff's unavailability or workload? And how do you increase the number of instructions which you generate, and how do you actually close more sales? So I think one of the key things in today's world is speed. Speed is definitely the key, and we live in a world where everybody wants information now, right? And given the industry you guys are in, it's quite important that you can actually respond to the leads very, very quickly, but with the right sort of information. And year on year, the average response time to leads is actually decreasing by 20% or more, which means you have to be staying up to speed with your competition. How do you actually make that happen? So one of the solution everybody is looking for is, how do you generate more sales? You need something which is faster, which can go further than what you already have, and is flexible enough such that it actually supports your current and existing processes. Some of the key things, or the obvious questions which maybe we all need to answer are, how do you generate leads? How do you provide high quality data? Providing accurate valuation for your clients? Reducing the bottlenecks and building your brand, and how do you actually expand your current presence? It's all easy talking about that, but how do you do that? That's the key question. One of the key things or a common theme is to attract more customers using a Value My Home button, which is an excellent way to attract potential vendors looking to figure out how much their property is worth. A number of places you might have already seen, some people have actually been using some of the old ways of getting leads, but I think a lot of these are quite simply lead capture widgets, rather than truly giving the customers what they want, giving your vendors what they want. And vendors are becoming more and more intelligent, more and more, what should I say, basically they're becoming more savvy, so they are looking for solutions who can actually give them the right information, and they want to be going to those agents. They don't want to be talking to 20 people calling them to win an instruction. I mean, quite honestly, I mean, when I was trying to sell a few of my properties, every time you put in an instruction, or when you're trying to say find local agents in the likes of Rightmoves or Zooplas, I only would answer one or two calls, then people who called me up front, but then everyone else I'd end up blocking, and I felt sorry for doing that. But then, quite honestly, you're almost as a vendor flooded with everyone trying to win business. How do you stand out from those people trying to actually compete with? And it's quite important that you actually give the customer a lot more than a simple guesstimate, because some of the widgets out there, what they will give when it comes to instant valuation would be, for example, we were trying it out with one of our other clients a couple of days ago. The valuation came out at 750, low range was about 300k, and higher range was 1.2 mil. And I was like, quite seriously, that's a joke. I mean, you can't call that an instant valuation. It's just, and that doesn't actually fill a vendor or potential vendor coming to you with much confidence, because if that's what you're actually showing to them, that doesn't show too much confidence in your ability. I mean, because obviously, yes, that widget is being provided by some third party, but you don't want to be associating yourself with that. What we did was we actually created this widget, which actually gives you the instant valuation, whether it's sales or rentals, gives you your range, which is generally within 5-10%. And also, again, you can actually do the rental valuation. It actually looks at a number of factors, which actually helps your vendors or potential clients to understand what kind of valuation confidence is there, and gives them like an indication of some of the key factors, like your typical sold price information, etc. So they get what they want, and they're actually coming to you to get this information. And every time, whether or not the vendor is looking to sell immediately, they are likely to come back to your site every time they're actually thinking about it, and they're going to tell others as well. And all of this actually can be done in your custom branding, so it actually feels part of your own existing offering. And it's just a plug-and-play widget. It doesn't require you spending tons and tons of money on IT budget. It's a very simple downloadable widget, plug and play, goes on your site, and you can actually add your own custom colors and contact information. And it helps you generate incoming leads. So the vendor has your contact information if they wanted to contact you immediately, and also it sends a notification to your sales teams. And I think that's not all. So where we basically look at this, a lot of companies already have some solutions in this space where they will either give a form where you say, fill this form and then we'll contact you. But you want to go a step further in terms of how things are changing. And this is where I don't know how many of you guys actually know what AVMs are. AVMs are, or what they actually call is automated valuation models, are pieces of software that help pull in all the data from trusted data sources, try to do all the, like I said, the hard work, and actually provide you accurate information. So obviously, agents have been doing things manually for ages, and yes, there have been the likes of your Zoopla Plus and Rightmove Plus, etc. And those kind of softwares are there. However, I don't think anything is actually kind of trying to give you the true power. So as AVMs have been around, and they've generally had a lot of bad reputation in traditionally because the accuracy have been questionable. However, with recent advancement in technologies and more data sets coming together, it's basically a true AVM should be able to give you a lot more better information. And again, it's a proprietary piece of software, so it depends on how a certain company handles that information. So our valuation engine is quite comprehensive, and it actually tries to give you all the information, puts it all together. And we don't quite believe in just sort of saying this is the value because Property Deals Insight said so. We also try and put it together. What would you normally do if you did not want to use an AVM? Would you be putting together all the comparables? So we try and actually put all of this information together and make it available to you, to your staff, which can be accessed from anywhere. It can actually, it's basically complementing your local knowledge. So the widget is one part of it, but we also have a full comprehensive platform which actually allows you to be keying in some of those details, adding all those salient features of any property, which kind of which allows you to say whether it was a rundown property or is it a good condition, have they had a new kitchen in, etc., how big the property is compared to the neighborhood. So you can actually speak to the vendor, try and fill in all those pieces of information, trying to get the more accurate valuation from it. And people use different terms like instant valuations or desktop valuations. Ultimately, you can offer it as just a simple widget as we discussed, or you can actually have a conversation with your vendor, try and fill some of those details on this end where within your, it can be done on the go, it can be actually done through the mobile app, etc. And you can actually run all of these in PDF forms as well. So the fact is, most of the UK lenders are actually now using AVM. So obviously, there is a reason why that's happening, because these have become much more reliable. With Property Deals Insight reports, in general, we provide the full in-depth evaluation. We provide we use our own bespoke price per meter square algorithm, which helps you identify how much a certain property is on that street or for a particular type. We're not trying to compare apples with oranges, so it's all about trying to look at what the agents would normally do. We've been speaking to a lot of agents and surveyors trying to put it all together, so we actually did the market research to try and put all of that together. It also gives you all the things on the plate where you can actually see sales and rental properties which are available on the market today, so you don't have to be going around figuring out how many properties are out there, trying to give it to the vendor. And these can actually be shared with your vendors in one click, so you can actually, depending on how you're doing your vendor interactions, whether in person or remotely, you can either do it online or send them a link, or you can actually take your tablet in typically and basically have it open over there, so they can literally see the amount of information you're presenting, how well you're actually covering what. So basically it give you guys a bit of an edge and professional, shows that how professional your company is compared to everybody else. Ultimately, it's all about empowering their decision making, so trying to agree the right price with the vendor, because there's no point in actually going for a certain price. And this is also helps you with typical scenarios where some of the agents who try and be naughty and they basically just give a very high valuation estimate to a vendor just to try and win their instruction. That doesn't really help anybody, because all that happens is the property sits on the market for ages. This allows you to actually compare the local market, and it's also actually doing what we do is we also show you comparables, not just with last sold prices, but then we enrich it to also show you price per meter square. So if there are other few properties on the street and there's one property which got sold for an X amount, then vendors always want to say, oh, my property should also be that much amount, because they don't have the visibility to actually differentiate between why my one should be higher or lower. It actually allows them to get an honest understanding of what they can expect. And ultimately, it's quite important to actually, like one other point, and actually, so which is a very important point, and mostly people actually don't pay so much attention at, is ultimately, yes, you want more instructions, so let's create a lead magnet and get you more instructions. Fine, you want to be winning these instructions from these vendors by giving them comprehensive information. Now that you've got those instructions, you ultimately need to sell the properties. Nobody's getting paid until you actually sell these properties. So it's quite also important that you support the home buyers who are coming in to view your properties. And I think if I remember correctly, I think there were about 1.5 million properties sold each year, and out of that, around 60% are second homes or investment properties, which means you've got to cater for that market as well. And what we also have is there is an investment analysis, so you can actually look at buy-to-let analysis on our platform, and we do quite a few different types of comparables: buy-to-lets, rent-to-rent, HMOs, service accommodation, development appraisals. I mean, a lot of them may or may not apply directly to your vendors, but then it's up to you to kind of give them the analysis they need. And you can actually do it by one click, giving them access to the platform's reports, which can be branded as per with your colors and can be white labeled as well. So it basically acts as the back office extension of your own existing software, if you have any, or basically however you want to run it. You can run marketing campaigns, which basically has a one-click link to these properties. Or you can actually just generate PDFs and share it with them, ultimately allowing somebody who's actually interested in buying a property. There's so many times we see somebody walks through the door, is really interested in the property, and ultimately, for one reason or the other, they don't actually make an offer, or they don't really buy that property. It's I don't know if that's happened to you, but it's something which kind of a lot of our customers do tell us, and they say, well, that's one of the typical problems. Why? The reason simply is people don't want to be wasting money, right? So they don't actually, property is one of the biggest investment you're going to make. So it's quite important that they are making sure they're covering all the grounds to be able to, before they make an offer. If we can actually assist them, trying to give them the analysis on if they were to move every 7 years, I think on average people move in the UK. So if they are actually going to be moving, they can look at what sort of cash flow they're going to get from this property. And that helps their decision making, whether you're a home buyer, whether you're actually an investor and buyer. It doesn't hurt them to actually get that sort of level of trust, and having the information in one place, which means they can get sales done quicker, you can actually get paid quicker. And ultimately improve the end-to-end customers. If somebody can sell my house in a few weeks or a few days, I would absolutely be going back to the same agent. I don't want to be going to. There's no one winning if having a property on for 6 months, right? So there's no point in doing that. Other thing is basically we provide all of this data, and some of these are screenshots from some of the reports which you get. You can actually get all the graphical stuff for some clients which are actually interested in the graphics, and then you can have nice and simple, concise information which basically people can understand. Rather than trying to dump everything into a big report, we try and keep it nice and simple so people can understand, and you can actually add your own branding, your taglines, etc. So that helps with your business and the trust model. And ultimately, the last part is effectively people are doing things, right? So how do you expand what you're doing? And I think, I don't know if you guys were in the other session just now, one of the points which was mentioned over there, and that's a typical point, is PropTech trying to disrupt something, or is it just kind of a nuisance? Ultimately, you can save so much time with using tech, and what that means is you can free up those resources to actually expanding your reach. You can be using tech to be supporting some of the junior staff and reduce your bottlenecks. And if you're looking to expand global is one thing, but then even if you're looking national, or even within your local area, if you want to be setting up new branches, you do not want to be having to be restricted because you can't trust some of the new members, and ultimately helps you cut costs. You should use your key staff where they're needed the most. That's kind of a key message I would say, and ultimately helps you stay ahead of the game from some of the online challenges which are coming across. So you don't have to be looking at thing that you have to change everything completely, but how can you actually use tech to help you assist with some of the common challenges. As I said, I come from a background where I've done a number of industry change initiatives. I'm kind of working with a number of other companies, or we're collaborating with them, trying to make the one-click property purchase a reality. It's not going to happen overnight, but definitely one step at a time. If we can actually combine the various parts of the property life cycle, that can definitely be done. Ultimately, now in today's day and age, a lot of people are coming up with solutions, and what you find is vendors or even nobody wants to be having to open 1,500 accounts for everything rather than jumping from one application to the other. So it's all about integrations. It's all about connecting things together so that we can give the customers a true end-to-end experience, which is what customers want. And as a company, we are in the middle of a funding round. Again, that's not the main topic over here, but as a business, we're raising some equity funding to try and increase our market reach, and hopefully you'll be hearing a lot more about us in the press. Andrew is actually was one of the presenters in the previous session, so he's been one of our clients, and he rates us quite heavily as well. And sorry, I think wrong button. Yeah, I think basically I would like to get in touch with you guys, understand what your pain points are, how, like I was speaking to this gentleman earlier, no one size fits, there's never a one size fits all solution. I'd be happy to have a chat with you. Our solution is quite flexible and helps you understand which parts of the end-to-end journey you would like to improve, and feel free to book a meeting. This link directly goes to my calendar, so I'll be happy to have a chat with you guys. It's propertydealsinside.com/meeting.